All right, let's dive into something today that often gets, well, overlooked, I guess. It's HR management. But I think we'll find it's more crucial than maybe people think.
Yeah.
We've got some excerpts from HR management aligning people with business objectives.
Okay.
And I guess our mission is to figure out if managing people can really make or break a company, you know?
Yeah.
Can it make or break their success? And even if if you're not in HR,
Right.
we're going to see how this impacts everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
From like the products we buy
Uh,
to our experience, like as customers, like our experience with the companies.
it's so true.
So it should be relevant to everybody.
Yeah, what I always find interesting is you hear all the time about companies that have amazing cultures
Right.
and they have very engaged employees.
Hmm.
And it just makes you wonder, like, what's the secret sauce?
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe it's good HR.
Maybe.
Right.
Okay, so let's break it down. Our source defines human resource management as basically just maintaining the relationship between the employee and the business.
Okay.
But the book points out that HRM,
Mhm.
it can look very different
Oh, for sure.
in small companies versus like a larger company.
Yeah.
What are those distinctions? Does size really change like the fundamental role?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely can.
Yeah.
The approach is definitely going to vary a lot.
Right.
In a smaller business, you might have, like, the owner wearing multiple hats.
Right.
And one of those hats is going to be HR.
Right. They got to do it all.
But
Right.
as a company grows,
Yeah.
it usually becomes necessary to have a dedicated HR department.
Right.
That has specialists in different areas, like recruitment or training, benefits, that kind of thing.
Right.
But the core function remains the same.
Yeah.
Making sure the business has the right people
Mm-hmm.
with the right skills
Yeah.
in the right place at the right time. And that those people are motivated and they're equipped to help the company achieve those goals.
Right. So it's less about the structure and more about the core function that it serves.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And speaking of goals, our source emphasizes that businesses exist to achieve objectives.
Right.
And of course,
Of course.
profit is a big one.
Usually the biggest one.
But how does successful employee management,
Yeah.
how does that actually contribute to achieving those objectives?
Yeah, that's the big question, right?
Is it just happy employees lead to a productive workplace?
I think it's a little more than that.
Or is there more of like a direct link?
Yeah, I mean, the source talks about how good HR is directly linked to things like, boosting sales,
Oh.
increasing that market share,
Right.
creating a positive customer experience,
Yeah.
and increasing productivity.
Right.
It's all connected.
Yeah.
When employees feel valued and supported,
Yeah.
they're more likely to go that extra mile,
Uh.
to be more creative and to provide better service.
So it's almost like a chain reaction then.
Exactly.
Motivated and skilled employees
Uh.
lead to better products and services, happier
Mhm.
customers, and then ultimately more profit.
It all comes back to that bottom line.
Yeah.
And a great example of a company that's really kind of nailed this is Telstra,
Okay.
this Australian telecom giant.
Mm-hmm.
They've been recognized on LinkedIn's top companies list.
Wow.
And it's not just because they have cool perks or anything like that.
Right.
What's fascinating about them is their reverse mentoring program.
Reverse mentoring. What is that?
So where senior leaders are actually mentored by younger employees.
Wow. So the bosses are being mentored
Yeah.
by the younger staff. That's interesting.
On things like digital trends, things like that.
Okay. So how's that working? What kind of impact has it had?
I mean, I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
It keeps the leaders in touch with what's happening on the ground.
Yeah.
What are people talking about? What are the trends?
Right. The up and coming trends.
And it helps them stay ahead of the curve
Yeah.
in terms of technology and innovation.
Okay.
But it also creates this culture of continuous learning and intergenerational collaboration,
Right.
which is hugely attractive to top talent, right?
Yeah.
Plus, when the younger employees feel like their voices are heard
Right.
and that their perspectives are valued,
Yeah.
they're more likely to be engaged and committed to the company's success.
That's a really cool concept.
Yeah, it's very cool.
It really challenges the traditional top-down approach.
Mm.
Okay, so we've talked about the overall importance,
Yeah.
but how do we put this into practice?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right?
Our source provides a table, almost like a cheat sheet,
Okay.
It connects specific HR objectives and strategies to
Yeah.
different business goals,
Yeah.
But, from your experience, which strategies have the most impact?
That's a great question.
Are there any that are often overlooked?
This table's really useful, I think,
Yeah.
because it gives you that framework
Right.
for thinking about how HR can be tailored to a specific business objective.
Okay.
And one strategy that I think is often underestimated is training and development.
Okay.
So, for example, if a company wants to boost sales,
Yeah.
the table suggests that you could implement training programs
Okay.
to enhance the employee's product knowledge.
Right. So the more they know,
Yeah.
the better they can,
Articulate the value
yeah, explain it.
of your product or service.
Makes sense.
So it seems simple,
Yeah.
but it's really quite impactful.
Right. A well-trained employee is going to be a more effective employee.
Yeah.
That reminds me, the table also mentions motivation strategies, like
Mhm.
performance-related pay.
Right.
But is there a downside to focusing too much on the financial incentives?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's always it's
Yeah.
always a balancing act, right?
Right. Could it create a competitive rather than collaborative environment?
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to create like a cutthroat environment
Right.
where everybody's just out for themselves.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
incentives can be good, but
Yeah.
it's important to make sure
Yeah.
that it's not
Yeah.
leading to bad behavior, I guess.
Right. Right.
The source also highlights things like recognition programs
Okay.
and opportunities for growth and development,
Mm-hmm.
which can be just as motivating
Right.
as financial reward.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's not always about the money.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Uh-huh.
And this brings us to another point.
Yeah.
HRM isn't just one department operating in a silo.
Right.
It has a ripple effect, throughout the whole organization.
Yeah.
Our source actually includes an organizational structure diagram, and it visually shows how HR is connected to all the other departments, like
Mhm.
operations and finance,
Right.
marketing.
It's a team effort.
So I'm curious, how do those collaborations actually play out in the real world?
Yeah.
Like, can you give me a specific example
Sure.
of how HR might work with another department to achieve a goal?
Yeah. Let's take the example of recruitment.
Okay.
HR and operations working together on recruitment.
Yeah.
So HR brings their expertise in, attracting and evaluating candidates.
Right.
And operations can provide insights into the specific skills and experience needed for the role.
Right.
So they might work together to create that job description
Yeah.
that accurately reflects the day-to-day responsibilities.
Yeah.
Or they might even participate in interviews together
Okay.
to get a more well-rounded view of the candidate.
It's like a checks and balances
Exactly.
to make sure you're getting the right
Exactly.
fit for the team.
Yeah, you want to make sure everyone's on the same page.
That makes a lot of sense. Uh-huh.
So it's more than just a department then. It's more like
Yeah.
a strategic partner,
For sure.
helping align everyone
Yeah.
towards these shared objectives.
That's a great way to put it.
Speaking of strategic partnerships,
Yeah.
we can't talk about HR without mentioning Google, right?
Right. Right.
Their people-first culture is
Yeah. It's legendary.
almost legendary, right?
Yeah.
But what does that actually mean in practice?
Yeah. I mean, they really push the boundaries, I think,
Yeah.
of what HR can look like
Mm-hmm.
and what it can achieve.
Yeah.
Our source really digs into their people operations team
Okay.
and how they play a crucial role in finding, growing, and keeping talent.
But it's got to be more than just the perks, right?
Yeah, it is.
Although they have some amazing perks.
They do. They do.
It's about creating that culture,
It is.
of trust and transparency and open communication.
Yeah, yeah.
But those are all buzzwords.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
what are some specific examples? Yeah.
Of how they're creating that culture.
Well, one example is their emphasis on psychological safety
Okay.
in the workplace.
What does that mean?
So it's about creating an environment where people feel comfortable
Yeah.
speaking up, sharing their ideas,
Mm-hmm.
even admitting mistakes
Yeah.
without fear of punishment.
Right. Like a safe space
It is a safe space.
to try things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really fostering that culture of learning and continuous improvement.
That's so powerful because if people are afraid to take risks,
Right, exactly.
innovation is going to suffer.
You're not going to be as innovative.
And it sounds like they found a way to create an environment where people can
Yeah.
be their best selves, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that something that's only possible at a company with Google's resources?
Well, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, We might not all have Google's resources,
Right.
but the principles, I think, are applicable to
Yeah.
companies of all sizes. The key is to prioritize creating a work environment where people feel valued, supported, and empowered.
Yeah. So it's not the perks.
Right.
It's the underlying
It's the philosophy.
yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Huh?
Our source also touched on aligning those HR strategies
Yeah.
with the overall business objectives.
Right. Making sure everybody's rowing in the same direction,
Right, yeah.
working towards that same goal.
Can you give us an example of how that might look?
Sure.
Let's say a company that's really focused on innovation.
Okay.
How could HR support that goal?
Well, in that case,
Yeah.
HR might focus on creating programs that foster creativity and collaboration.
Okay.
So like,
Yeah.
hackathons or
Yeah.
brainstorming sessions,
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
They might also prioritize recruiting individuals
Okay.
who are known for their innovative thinking
Right.
and their problem-solving skills.
So they're proactively recruiting.
Yeah, for that type of culture.
Exactly.
That's a really interesting concept.
Yeah.
It sounds like HR is almost like the bridge then between the company's goals
Yeah.
and the people that make them happen.
That's a great way to put it.
What happens if there's a disconnect?
Oh, that's when you start to see problems,
Yeah.
Low morale, high
Yeah.
turnover,
Right.
difficulty attracting top talent.
Right. Yeah.
When HR isn't viewed as that strategic partner,
Yeah.
it can become just, an administrative function
Yeah.
focused on paperwork and compliance.
Okay.
And that's not good for anybody.
So having that strong HR presence is crucial then
Yeah, I think so.
to the company's success.
I agree.
I want to circle back
Yeah.
to a question you posed earlier.
Uh-huh.
You asked what our top priorities would be
Yeah.
if we were designing a company culture.
Right. From scratch.
From scratch, right?
Yeah.
I'm curious now.
Yeah.
What would your answer be?
Ooh. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I think for me,
Yeah.
it all starts with trust
Okay.
and respect.
Mm-hmm.
Creating an environment where people feel safe to be themselves,
Yeah.
share their ideas, and take risks.
Right.
I think that's the foundation
Yeah.
of a truly innovative and engaged workforce.
I love that. It's about creating a culture where people feel
Yeah.
valued and empowered,
Right.
not just as employees, but as human beings.
Yeah, as people.
And that ties into, what we were discussing before about psychological safety.
Yeah.
Creating that space where people feel comfortable
Right.
being vulnerable and authentic.
Absolutely.
But how do you actually cultivate that kind of environment?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah. Is it something you can teach?
Well, I think it's a combination.
Yeah. Yeah.
Leadership plays a huge role
Right.
in setting the tone,
Yeah.
but it also requires intentional effort
Mm-hmm.
to create systems and processes
Okay.
that support that culture.
So it's not just about talking the talk.
No, you got to walk the walk.
You got to walk the walk.
Actions speak louder than words.
What are some concrete steps that companies can take
Yeah.
to build that foundation of trust and respect?
Well, I think one important step is to encourage
Yeah.
open and honest communication.
Okay.
So this means creating channels for feedback,
Mm-hmm.
both upwards and downwards.
Right.
Make sure people feel comfortable sharing their perspectives
Right.
without fear of reprisal.
But it's not just about giving people a voice.
No, it's about listening.
It's about really
They're
listening.
listening to what they have to say.
Active listening, yeah.
So it sounds like we're moving away from this traditional
Mm-hmm.
hierarchical model of management
I think so.
towards something more
Yeah.
collaborative
Yeah.
and people-centric.
I think you're right.
You're exactly right.
I think that shift is being driven by a number of factors.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
changing nature of work.
The rise of technology,
Mhm.
the increasing demand
Yeah.
for better work-life balance,
Right.
all of those things are contributing to
Yeah.
that shift.
It's fascinating to see how all these trends are shaping the future of work.
It is. It is.
I'm curious, how does this new model of management impact the role of HR?
Well, I think it requires HR to be more
Mhm.
agile, more strategic,
Mm-hmm.
more focused on people than ever before.
Yeah.
HR professionals need to be able to anticipate
Right.
and respond to the changing needs of the workforce
Mm-hmm.
and to create programs and policies
Yeah.
that support a more flexible,
Mhm.
more collaborative, and a more human-centered
Okay.
work environment.
It sounds pretty challenging,
It is?
but also very rewarding.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's about making a real difference
Mm-hmm.
in people's lives
Yeah.
and helping them achieve their full potential.
And that brings us back to the core of what we've been talking about. HR is about more than just paperwork
Right.
and policies. It's
Yeah.
about people.
It's about people.
It's about creating that environment where people can thrive, contribute,
Yeah.
feel a sense of purpose.
Absolutely.
Our source highlights Telstra as a great example of a company that's really balancing profitability
Right.
with employee well-being.
Yeah.
They created a workplace that people actually want to be a part of.
Yeah. They have.
And it's obviously paying off for them.
It is.
But what about companies that are just starting out?
Yeah.
What advice would you give to, like, a small business owner trying to build a culture from the ground up?
I would say start by defining your values.
Okay.
What kind of company do you want to be?
Yeah.
What kind of culture do you want to create?
Mm-hmm.
Once you have a clear understanding of your values,
Okay.
you can start to build your HR strategies around those values.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like having a compass that
Yeah.
guides all of your decisions.
Yeah, it gives you that North Star.
But what if you're not a small business owner?
Right.
What if you're an employee
Mhm.
who's not in HR,
Right.
but you want to make a difference
Yeah.
in your workplace?
Uh,
What can you do?
Be an advocate for positive change.
Okay.
Speak up when you see something that could be improved.
Yeah.
Share your ideas with your manager
Mhm.
and get involved in initiatives that
Right.
promote, employee well-being
Right.
and engagement.
Everyone has a role to play then
Yeah, I think so.
in creating a positive work environment.
Absolutely.
But speaking of responsibility,
Yeah.
our source mentions the Top Employers Institute certification.
Right.
What is that?
It's a global certification
Okay.
that recognizes companies that demonstrate excellence in people practices.
Okay.
The evaluation process is very rigorous.
Right.
It covers everything from talent strategy, workforce planning,
Okay.
learning and development,
hmm
leadership well-being.
So it's not
Just very comprehensive.
yeah, it's not just like offering ping pong tables and
No. It's not about the perks.
free snacks here.
It's really about having a holistic approach
Okay.
to employee well-being and development.
What are the benefits then
Yeah.
of actually achieving this certification?
Well, it's more than just a badge of honor.
Right.
It's a powerful way to attract and retain top talent.
Okay.
In today's job market,
Yeah.
candidates are looking for more than just a paycheck.
Right.
They want to work for companies that value their employees,
Mm-hmm.
invest in their development,
Okay.
and create a positive and fulfilling
Right.
work environment.
So it's a signal to employees
Yeah.
that this company really cares about its people.
Exactly.
But what about the companies themselves? What are the internal benefits of going through this process?
Well, the certification process
Yeah.
can actually help companies identify areas for improvement
Oh,
in
okay.
their HR practices. It provides a framework for evaluating
Mm-hmm.
their current programs and policies
Okay.
and for developing a roadmap
Mm-hmm.
for creating a world-class work environment.
It's like a built-in audit system.
It is, yeah.
So is this relevant for all companies?
Yeah, I mean, they certify companies of all sizes
Okay.
across all industries.
Okay.
The criteria are the same for everybody.
Okay.
So it's a level playing field.
That's great.
Yeah.
So even small businesses
Hi,
could
John.
be recognized for their commitment
Yeah,
to creating a good work environment.
absolutely.
We've been talking a lot about the positive aspects of HR,
Yeah.
but are there any downsides?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think
Yeah.
one challenge is that,
Yeah.
HR can sometimes be seen as the policy police.
Right.
Right. Focused on enforcing rules
Yeah.
and regulations
Yeah.
rather than supporting employees.
Right.
So I think it's really important to make sure
Mm-hmm.
that HR is seen as a partner,
Not a roadblock.
not a roadblock.
Nobody wants to feel like they're being monitored
Right.
all the time.
Yeah, you want to feel supported.
Yeah. It's all about finding that balance
This is
between structure and freedom.
exactly.
But from the HR professional's perspective,
yeah,
what are some of the biggest challenges?
I think one of the biggest challenges is keeping up with the pace of change.
Right.
The world of work is constantly evolving.
Yeah.
New technologies emerging, new ways of working becoming the norm,
Right.
new expectations from employees.
Yeah.
So HR professionals
Yeah.
need to be very agile,
Right.
adaptable, constantly learning
Right.
to stay ahead of the curve.
It sounds pretty demanding,
It is.
but also very exciting, you know?
Yeah.
You get to be at the forefront of
You do.
shaping the future of work.
Absolutely.
What are some of the emerging trends in HR?
Ooh.
That you're most excited about?
Well, one trend that I'm particularly excited about
Yeah.
is the growing focus on employee well-being.
Okay.
You know,
Mm.
companies are starting to realize that taking care of their employees,
Yeah.
physical, mental, and emotional health,
Yeah.
is not just the right thing to do.
Yeah.
It's also good for business.
Yeah. It makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, people are not machines.
Yeah.
They have lives outside of work.
They do.
And those lives are going to impact
That's
their
it.
performance and their well-being.
It all ties together.
What are some specific examples
Sure.
of how companies are, kind of incorporating
Mm-hmm.
that well-being?
Well, we're seeing things like, flexible work arrangements,
Yeah.
on-site fitness centers,
Right.
mindfulness programs,
Okay.
mental health resources.
Mm.
Those are becoming more commonplace.
Yeah.
Companies are also starting to offer benefits
Yeah.
like paid parental leave,
Okay.
student loan assistance,
Yeah.
even pet insurance.
Wow. So the definition of benefits is
Yeah.
really expanding
It is. It's
to be more holistic. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
really encompasses that whole person.
What are some of the principles driving this shift
Yeah.
towards this more people-centric approach?
Well, I think it's a recognition that talent has more choices than ever before.
Right.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
Companies need to create a work environment
Yeah.
that attracts and retains top talent,
Right.
and that means going beyond
Mhm.
just a competitive salary and benefits package.
Yeah. So creating a culture where
Yeah.
people feel valued, respected, supported,
Absolutely.
bring their whole selves to work.
Yeah, yeah.
How does this impact the traditional
Mm.
HR functions like
Yeah.
recruitment and performance management?
Well, I think it's changing the way
Yeah.
companies recruit, onboard, and evaluate their employees. So, for example,
Yeah.
instead of just focusing on skills and experience,
Right.
companies are now looking for candidates who are a good cultural fit,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Who share the company's values,
Right.
who are likely to thrive
Hmm.
in a people-centric environment.
So it's not just the right person for the job.
Okay.
It's the right person for the company.
Exactly, yeah.
But how do you measure that?
That's a good question.
Cultural fit or
Yeah, it's tough.
potential for well-being,
Yeah, I mean,
That seems hard to quantify.
it is.
Yeah.
I think that's where the art and science of HR
Yeah.
come together.
Right?
There are definitely tools and techniques
Yeah.
that can be used to assess those things,
Mm.
but it also requires a certain level of
Yeah.
intuition
Yeah.
and judgment.
Right.
You have to be able to read people.
Right. It's about looking beyond the resume.
Yeah.
Really getting to know
Getting to know the person
the person.
beyond just,
Yeah.
their qualifications on paper.
Let's talk about performance management.
Okay.
How does this new focus on well-being
Yeah.
impact, the way we evaluate
Yeah.
employees?
I think it's shifting the focus
Oops.
from simply measuring outputs
Right.
to also considering inputs and behaviors.
Okay.
So instead of just looking at, how many sales someone made
Yeah.
or how many projects they completed,
Yeah.
companies are also looking at things like
Yeah.
how they collaborate with their colleagues,
So-
how they contribute to the team,
Mm-hmm.
how they demonstrate the company's values.
So it's more holistic.
It is. It's a more holistic
I think
approach.
it's true. Yeah.
But doesn't that make it more subjective?
Well, it can.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that's why it's crucial
Yeah.
to have very clear criteria
Okay.
and a well-defined process.
Mm.
You need to be able to articulate
Yeah.
what you're looking for.
Right. And how you're going to measure it.
Right. So it's about finding that balance again
It is.
between objectivity and subjectivity.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a pretty complex challenge.
It can be, but that's what makes HR so interesting.
Right. Exactly.
It's a field that's constantly evolving.
Right. There's always something new.
Always something new to learn.
That's one of the things I love about our deep dives.
Yeah,
We get to,
Explore.
explore all these different aspects of the
Yeah.
business world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our source mentions the employer of choice advantage.
Right.
What does that mean?
Well, the employer of choice advantage
Yeah.
refers to the benefits that companies gain
Okay.
by being seen as a desirable place to work.
Okay.
So these benefits can include things like
Yeah.
attracting top talent,
Right.
reducing turnover,
Mm.
improving employee morale and engagement.
So it's about creating a brand
It is, yeah.
that is attractive
Yeah.
to potential employees.
Yeah, you want to be the company
Yeah.
that everybody wants to work for.
Right. But how do you actually build that brand?
Well,
Yeah.
I think it's definitely more
Yeah.
than just perks and benefits,
Right.
although those can play a role.
Right.
It's really about creating a work environment
Yeah.
that aligns with
From her.
people's
Yeah.
values and aspirations.
So it's about authenticity.
Yeah.
It's about like being true to who you are as a company.
Yeah, and
And attracting the people that share that vision.
that share your vision, yeah.
But how do you communicate that
Yeah,
to the outside world?
that's a good question.
Yeah.
I think that's where things like
Yeah.
your company website,
Okay.
your social media presence,
Right.
your employer branding efforts
Yeah.
come in.
Okay.
It's about telling your story,
Yeah.
sharing your values with the world.
So being transparent,
Yeah.
letting people see.
Behind the curtain.
Yeah. Behind the curtain, right.
Yeah.
But it's not just what you say, it's what you do.
It's what you do, your actions.
Actions have to match the words.
Actions speak louder than words.
The best way to build a strong employer brand is
Yeah.
to create a great
Is to create a great work environment.
work environment.
When your employees are happy and engaged,
Uh-huh.
they're going to be your best advocates.
Right. Happy employees are more likely to
Yeah.
spread the word.
To spread the word, exactly.
What happens when a company has a negative employer brand?
Ooh, that's bad news.
Yeah.
It can make it incredibly difficult
Yeah.
to attract. And
Welcome back to our deep dive into HR management.
yeah, I'm excited to continue our exploration of this.
We've covered so much already.
We have.
Everything from aligning those strategies to business objectives.
Right.
And, of course, the rise of remote work
Yeah, a big one these days.
and that growing focus on well-being, DEI,
All those important trends.
and they all seem connected,
Yeah.
right?
They do. I think it's all pointing toward a more human-centered approach
Yeah,
to work,
exactly.
which is great.
Before we wrap up, I want to go back to something you said earlier
Okay.
about employees being able to shape their own work experience.
Yeah, that's such a key point
Yeah.
that often gets overlooked.
So while companies have that responsibility to create the right environment,
Right. They have a responsibility.
individuals have to take ownership as well.
Yeah, it's a partnership.
Yeah.
It's not just waiting for the company to hand you everything.
Right. You're not just going to show up and
Well-
everything's going to be perfect. You have to
You have to put in the work.
put in the work.
It's like you wouldn't just, wait for a gym
Yeah.
to make you fit.
Right.
You have to actually go and exercise.
You have to go work out.
You have to put in the effort.
What are some specific steps that employees can take?
Okay, so one important step
Yeah.
is to identify your values
Okay.
and your priorities.
Hmm.
What matters most to you in a job?
Yeah.
Is it work-life balance, opportunities for growth,
Right. A sense of purpose.
a sense of purpose?
Yeah.
What is it, for you?
Yeah.
Once you know that, you can be more intentional
Right.
about seeking those things out.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to advocate for yourself.
That's huge.
If you need something,
Absolutely.
be more successful.
Don't be afraid to speak up.
Speak up.
Ask for it.
Yeah.
Talk to your manager. Let them know.
It's like we were saying, communication is key.
It is. It's always key.
But it's not just voicing your needs, right?
No, it's also about
It's also about being
open to feedback
right.
and willing to learn and grow.
Right. Take that feedback.
Yeah, feedback is essential,
Yeah.
whether it's positive or
Right. Constructive criticism.
constructive. Exactly.
Yeah.
Embrace those opportunities.
And build those relationships with your colleagues.
Oh, so important.
Having that network can really
It makes all the difference,
make all the difference, especially in a tough time.
especially when things get tough.
And speaking of, making things a little more enjoyable,
Yeah.
you have the power to choose your own attitude, right?
You do. You really do.
Even if things aren't ideal.
Yeah, you can focus on the positive.
Yeah, and find a way to make your work more
More meaningful.
meaningful.
Find purpose in it.
And don't underestimate the power of small actions, right?
No, those small gestures.
Just offering to help,
Helping a colleague.
expressing gratitude,
Yeah, showing appreciation.
it can really make a difference.
It can.
So it's big picture thinking,
Yeah,
identifying those values,
knowing what you want.
but also those everyday actions.
Yeah, the small things, they all add up.
Shaping that work experience is a process, right?
It is. It's an ongoing process.
It's not a one-time thing. You're
It's a
constantly
journey.
having to work at it.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
This deep dive has been really eye-opening for me.
Yeah, me too.
to see all these different aspects of HR
It's amazing.
and how it's changing,
Yeah,
we've learned that it's more than just paperwork.
It is.
It's about the people.
absolutely.
It's about the strategy.
Yeah, and creating a workplace where everyone can thrive.
And the future of work is only going to get more
More human-centered,
human-centered.
with a focus on well-being, flexibility, purpose.
So whether you're in HR, a leader, or just,
We're an employee.
an employee, an individual contributor,
We all have a role to play.
it's important to be aware of these trends. Be
Absolutely.
proactive.
Yeah.
Shape that experience.
The future is not something that happens to us.
Right. We create it.
We create it.
That's inspiring.
It is exciting to think about.
And that's it for our depth dive on HR management.
That was fun.
Hope you enjoyed it.
I did.
Hope you learned some stuff.
Me too.
And we'll see you next time.
Until next time.